Hi, and thanks for joining me. If this is your first time, please subscribe and share this video. It helps the channel grow. Leave a comment with your city or country. I read and value all your messages. Now, let's start. You never think a quiet Tuesday morning coffee will be the moment your life begins to fall apart. But that's when everything started to unravel. Julia sat across from me at the kitchen table, calmly buttering her toast, as though she weren't seconds away from tearing down a decade of marriage. "I've filed," she said, her voice composed, like she was noting something mundane. I furrowed my brow. "Filed what exactly?" She looked up, eyes dry and tone flat. "For divorce." I didn't react immediately. "Where is this coming from, Julia?" Her response came sharp, as though she'd rehearsed it. "Liam, don't pretend this is out of nowhere. We've been coasting for years. You're still clinging to that app of yours like it's some midlife distraction. I need someone real, a partner, not a man stuck dreaming about startups at 45. That cut deeper than I'd expected. I always knew she never fully supported the app, a scheduling tool I was building for field workers, but I'd put everything into it. I'd spent countless late nights sketching ideas on paper scraps, teaching myself back-end development after hours. "I've always been serious about it," I said, keeping my voice even. "This isn't just some hobby." She rolled her eyes. "Liam, you're an insurance claims manager. That's your job. The app, that's just a breakdown disguised as a goal." I studied her face and saw what I should have realized long ago. Emotionally, she'd left long before this. I was only now being handed the official notice. "What about the house?" I asked. She leaned back, arms folded. "You'll get your portion, but I've already talked to Martin." "Martin?" I echoed, confused. "My lawyer," she replied without hesitation. Clearly, she'd been preparing for this quietly for a while. A month later, she was gone, taking with her half our savings, most of the furniture, and whatever foundation I had left. "You'll fall apart without me," she said on her way out, not as a warning, but as a final truth. "You just don't know it yet." I didn't argue. I stood still in the hollow shell of our once shared home. After she left, the place felt colder, emptier. We agreed to sell it and split the proceeds. I handled the listing, packed up everything, filed the paperwork. 6 weeks later, it was no longer mine. I moved into a small studio above a diner on Maple Street. The space was tight, drafty, and overlooked a dumpster. But the rent was low, and the Wi-Fi was stable, exactly what I needed. I spent what was left from the divorce settlement on a solid laptop, a reliable monitor, and, more importantly, 6 uninterrupted months of solitude. No more strained conversations over dinner, no more irritated looks when I scribbled ideas on napkins. Just me and the project I'd always been too cautious to fully commit to. I named it Field Right, an app built for the hands-on pros, HVAC specialists, electricians, plumbers. Most of them still relied on scribbled notes and chaotic text threads. I wanted to give them something sleek, intuitive, and practical. Whether it succeeded or not, I finally had something that was entirely mine. I reached out to Henry, a former colleague, sharp, sarcastic, recently laid off. I pitched the idea, software designed for tradespeople, not tech insiders. He chuckled at first, assuming the dream had vanished with the coffee table Julia took. But I showed him my mock-ups, wireframes, and the early bones of the system. No office, no investors. I lived above a fry station, but I had a vision. He hesitated, then eventually said yes, part-time, after hours. That was enough. My life became a loop of coding tutorials, debugging marathons, and gallons of coffee. Henry managed the back end. I took care of the interface and front-end experience. I posted on forums, sent cold emails to contractors, and pitched the idea to anyone who'd listen. Most ignored me, except for Victor. Victor ran a small roofing business in Kentucky. He emailed me back, "If this saves me an hour a day, I'll give it a try." That message was gold. Victor was tired of his nephew's messy Excel system and was ready to move on. It wasn't validation, exactly, but it was fuel. Meanwhile, Julia was uploading beach photos from her Mediterranean cruise, captioning them with things like "finally free" and "living my truth." Henry and I pressed on. I kept refining the design, polishing the user experience. He worked deep in the system architecture, where a single typo could crash the whole thing. We didn't have staff meetings, just late-night Zoom calls with lagging video and sleep-deprived faces. Our first version was clunky. Some tools didn't work, the calendar glitched, but Victor didn't mind. He could assign jobs with a couple of clicks. That alone kept us going. By month 3, we had 5 testers, small operations, pest control guys, window fitters, a couple of electricians. One of them sent bug reports in all caps. It wasn't glamorous, but it was progress. Then a letter arrived. Julia's attorney was requesting a revision in the alimony agreement, claiming her new lifestyle required more support. I handed the envelope to my lawyer and moved on. What was there left to say? Instead, I posted a listing for help. That's how Lauren entered the picture, an intern from a local tech college. She was smart, quick to learn, and astonishingly efficient. Within days, she had overhauled our bug tracking, revamped the onboarding process, and drafted clear support content. The app improved noticeably. Our testers began spreading the word. The product was beginning to breathe. In month 4, we landed our first paying subscriber, $50 a month. When I read the email, I just stared at the screen in disbelief before speaking. Henry was on speaker. He made a dry joke, naturally. I laughed, really laughed, not out of sarcasm or exhaustion, but the kind of laugh that sinks into your chest when, after everything, you finally prove something, not to anyone else, but to yourself. While Julia was busy adjusting her alimony strategy and piecing together a lifestyle polished enough to resemble reinvention, I was deep into month 6 at Fieldwright. We had just upgraded to a modest little office, 3 desks, a wheezing coffee maker that sounded like it was on life support, and a whiteboard already cluttered with smudged diagrams and unfinished ideas. We weren't printing money yet, but momentum was real. Over 100 users, a 3-tier subscription model, and a tool that was actually solving problems for hands-on workers. A quiet mention on a niche blog focused on tech for tradespeople unexpectedly exploded our numbers. Traffic tripled in one night. Lauren marked the moment with cupcakes. 100 users? That was frosting-worthy for our crew. The mood in the office was upbeat, the energy focused. Then I opened my inbox. Among system alerts and update summaries, I noticed a message. Subject, catching up. Sender, Julia Morgan. I hadn't heard from her in nearly 6 months. I opened it. Hey Liam, can you believe it's been this long? I hope you're doing great. I've been following Fieldwright. Super impressive stuff. I always knew there was something powerful in you, even if I didn't say it enough back then. Lately, I've been freelancing in marketing, mostly short gigs, but I'm really craving something stable and meaningful. Seeing what you've built made me wonder, maybe we could reconnect. Professionally, I mean. Want to grab coffee and chat? Could be fun working together again, like the old days. I read it once, then again. I didn't reply right away. Eventually, I wrote back. Julia, wasn't expecting to hear from you. Coffee sounds good. Tuesday at 10, press and pour on 8th. I'll cover it. I didn't send the invite because I was considering bringing her on. I sent it because I owed myself that conversation. I got to the cafe early and chose a quiet corner with a full view of the entrance. Julia arrived 7 minutes late, wearing a sharp navy blazer over a crisp white blouse. Her look was elegant, calculated, but her smile, the one she gave me, never quite made it to her eyes. Liam, she said, her tone bright, you look like you're doing well. Julia, I answered with a nod. You look pricey. She laughed as if I'd complimented her. I hadn't. Once we'd ordered, she settled across from me. So, she said, Fieldwright. I've been following the progress. It's really impressive. Thanks, I said evenly. She leaned forward, resting her arms on the table. I always believed you had talent. You just needed the right nudge. I clenched my jaw but said nothing. She continued, what you've built is strong, but now it needs polish, branding, messaging, a public persona people connect with. That's where I could really contribute. She talked for a while, listing contacts she still had from past jobs or yoga classes, explaining why a feminine perspective could elevate the brand. People invest in people, Liam, not just tech. Imagine what we could accomplish now that you've found your rhythm. Her voice dipped slightly. I miss this. Maybe this could be our bridge back. I took a measured sip of coffee before responding. You walked away, Julia. You don't get to show up now just because you printed yourself a new business card. Her expression flickered. So that's a no? I held her gaze. That's a starting point. She blinked, unsure if I was being sarcastic. I wasn't. She set her coffee down gently. Liam, she said, voice more grounded. This isn't about nostalgia. I'm offering real value. You're offering a polished rerun, I said, and a lot of buzzwords. Her voice tightened. So this is about settling a score? Still holding on to resentment? No, I said calmly. I'm building something and I don't hire based on sentiment. She crossed her arms, visibly retreating. You really think you pulled this off alone? I tilted my head slightly. I built this after you left. She flinched. I carried us for years, she shot back. I kept everything together while you chased that app. I held the household together so you could keep tinkering. I raised a hand. There it is. That app. That's what you always called it when I stayed late. You didn't support it, Julia. You barely tolerated it. She looked away. I wasn't done. And now that it's working, now that we have real traction, you want back in. With authority. But Field Right isn't just code and features. It's built on mutual respect, not on entitlement. I have vision, she said sharply. Connections. Communication skills. My team already delivers all of that, I replied. And they didn't roll their eyes when I said we were helping blue-collar teams. They believed in the mission. They helped me bring it to life. Julia's eyes brimmed. You're just doing this to punish me. I shook my head gently. No. I'm doing this to protect what I've built. She leaned closer, her voice barely audible. You think running a startup makes you better than me? I leaned back. No, but it made me realize who I am without you. She didn't respond. Her fingers twitched as they rested on the table. I finished my coffee, stood up, and placed a $20 bill beside her untouched drink. This was never about revenge, I said quietly. It's about seeing things clearly. And with that, I walked out of the cafe without looking back. I didn't touch my phone again for the rest of the day. The next morning, I arrived at the office before anyone else. Lauren was already there, headphones in, typing like her fingers were chasing a deadline. Morning, I said. She popped out one earbud. Big meeting? Just closing a loop, I replied. Half an hour later, Henry came through the door, fresh coffee in hand and a promising new lead ready to go. An HVAC giant out of Austin got wind of our platform through one of their vendors. They reached out, asking for a product demonstration, and we locked it in for the next day. Lauren assembled a sleek presentation deck, and Henry put the system through its paces with back-end load testing. Over lunch, I brought it up, kept things short. I mentioned that Julia had gotten in touch. Was she angling for a job? Something high level? A role in branding, maybe? When I said her name, Henry gave me a sharp look. I clarified immediately. I hadn't promised anything, and we weren't making hires based on old ties. I didn't mention the coffee shop meeting, the polished pitch cloaked in nostalgic praise, or the subtle attempts to manipulate. It wasn't necessary. They understood the core truth. Julia had no place in what we were building. The next day, we secured the HVAC account. They signed on for the full annual package. That evening, Julia sent me a message. "You've changed. You're not the man I used to know." I stared at the words for a few seconds, then deleted the message without replying. She was right. I had changed. But it wasn't to make a point to her. I wasn't haunted by the past anymore. I was building something to affirm who I was. A few weeks later, I stood backstage at a local business expo. Fieldwright had been invited to speak in a breakout session, highlighting practical tools built for and by working professionals. They introduced me as the founder and CEO. I stepped up in a crisp button-down and clean jeans. No script, just a few key points in my head and a story etched into my experience. I spoke about the gap we saw, how tradespeople were being ignored by clunky, bloated software. I shared how Fieldwright first came to life, rough, imperfect, but useful. I talked about the people behind it, Henry, the steady hand keeping our systems up, and Lauren, who gave the project its soul. I kept the talk honest, straightforward, and free from hype. After the session, a man in his 50s approached me. "You're Liam, right?" I nodded. "We've been using your app to coordinate our winter cruise jobs. It saved my team hours every week." I shook his hand. "That's great to hear." He leaned in slightly. "Don't ever let anyone say this isn't real work." I nodded again, but I didn't need that kind of reassurance anymore. That night, I returned to the office by myself. The team had already left. The place was quiet. I sat at my desk, thinking about Julia. Someone had mentioned she'd moved to Sacramento, living with her sister now. Her marketing career hadn't taken off. She was picking up temp assignments, basic admin work. No more curated vacation posts. No more declarations of new beginnings. Just silence. Maybe she was looking inward. Maybe not. I recalled what she said before leaving. "You won't survive without me." Now I finally had the answer. I didn't collapse. I broke. I hit bottom. But then I started to climb back up. Not for revenge, not for reconciliation, not to prove anything to anyone else. I built Fieldwright because the world needed it. No branding gimmicks, no reinventions, just something real, built honestly, earned one step at a time. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you like this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.